Ranked queues have become a battlefield where older players slow down the competitive experience for everyone else. Reflex studies show that reaction times drop by up to 40% after age 30, which makes ranked fundamentally unfair. Younger players are forced to compensate for slower teammates who cannot keep up with the pace of modern games. This mismatch creates frustration, tilted matches, and a competitive environment that feels artificially handicapped. The solution many refuse to admit is that older gamers should step aside to preserve the integrity of ranked play. Modern games are designed around split-second decision-making that favors players at their peak neurological performance. When an older player joins ranked, the team loses crucial milliseconds that determine victory or defeat. Even a single missed shot or delayed skill usage can shift an entire match. Ranked is simply not optimized for players whose reflexes have naturally declined. The environment becomes less about skill and more about carrying dead weight. Older gamers often claim that experience compensates for slower reflexes, but the data suggests otherwise. Most ranked scenarios do not reward long-term game sense as much as immediate tactical execution. A seasoned mind cannot outperform raw neuromuscular speed in critical moments. Matchmaking systems punish teams that rely on slower decision-makers. This gap becomes more visible every season as ranked metas become faster and harsher. Competitive ladders also magnify the weaknesses of older players because ranking systems track performance relentlessly. Even small mistakes add up over dozens of games and drag entire teams downward. Younger players feel trapped in unwinnable matches dictated by factors outside their control. The emotional cost of constant defeat becomes higher than the value of shared playtime. Rank should prioritize fairness, not sentimentality. There is also an economic imbalance because older gamers typically have more disposable income for cosmetic upgrades. This gives them the illusion of competence even when their actual skill is declining. Flashy skins can mislead teams into thinking a player is more capable than they truly are. This creates false expectations and unnecessary frustration during high-stakes matches. Ranked queues should not be influenced by wallet power, but by reaction time and mechanical ability. Team-based ranked modes are especially vulnerable to age-related performance drops. One slow teammate forces others to waste resources, covering mistakes or compensating for late plays. Coordination becomes chaotic because timing windows are missed repeatedly. Younger players lose motivation when they realize they are effectively playing 4 versus 5. A clean, competitive environment cannot exist under these conditions. Many older players refuse to accept that their bodies have changed, even though every human eventually experiences cognitive decline. Their denial becomes a burden for players who are genuinely trying to climb rank. Ranked is not a charity space where others should babysit failing reflexes. Competitive environments exist to filter skill, not preserve egos. Retirement from ranked is the logical and respectful choice. Some argue that older gamers add maturity, but maturity does not win firefights or objective races. Ranked rewards performance, not wisdom. The pace of modern competitive games leaves no room for philosophical thinking mid-match. Teams need speed, precision, and immediate accuracy. Older gamers simply cannot provide that at the same consistency younger players can. Ranked developers quietly agree through their design decisions, as every new season becomes faster and more mechanically demanding. This design shift pushes out players who struggle to keep up. Maps become more complex, skill ceilings rise, and actions per minute expectations increase. These trends leave older players clinging to outdated playstyles that no longer work. The competitive ecosystem evolves while older gamers remain static. Another issue is emotional volatility, which increases with age according to several psychological studies. Older players become tilted faster because they are less tolerant of rapidly changing situations. This leads to higher rates of surrender votes and early match abandonment. Teams do not perform well with unpredictable emotional swings. Ranked requires mental resilience that declines with age. Even communication becomes an issue because older gamers often rely on outdated terminology or misinterpret fast callouts. High-pressure environments demand clarity and speed, not hesitation. Younger players can adapt instantly, while older ones process information more slowly. This creates constant miscoordination that costs objectives and team fights. Ranked voice channels should not feel like conference calls from the early 2000s. Some older gamers cling to nostalgia, believing their achievements in past titles prove they deserve a spot in Ranked. However, legacy skill does not translate into current competitive relevance. A 20-year-old highlight reel does not help when mid-fight reaction windows are under 1/10 of a second. Ranked requires present-day performance, not historical glory. Players who cannot meet modern standards should accept that the landscape has changed. The decline is even more apparent in first-person shooters, where crosshair placement and reflex flicks determine survival. Older gamers struggle to maintain consistent accuracy across long sessions. Fatigue sets in earlier and leads to slower reactions and poor engagements. This drastically lowers a team's chances of climbing the ladder. Ranked in shooters is simply not a friendly environment for aging reflexes. Strategy games do not offer an escape either, because decision trees are now deeper and actions per minute requirements are higher. Older players cannot maintain the same multitasking rigor needed for high-ranked play. They fall behind in macro decisions, even if they understand the game theoretically. Ranked matches punish slow responses regardless of intent. The competitive standard is brutal and unforgiving to anyone past their prime. Even in role-playing team games, older players often mismanage cooldowns because of slower cognitive processing. This creates windows of vulnerability that opponents easily exploit. Younger players track cooldowns subconsciously, while older ones hesitate or miscalculate. In Ranked, timing errors are more costly than mechanical errors. Age amplifies this weakness and makes Ranked consistency impossible. Older gamers also drag down matchmaking balance because ranking systems assume performance stability. When performance fluctuates wildly due to fatigue or slower adaptation, match quality deteriorates. This destabilizes the entire ladder and creates inaccurate skill distributions. Younger players end up fighting opponents well above or below their actual level. Such distortions ruin the purpose of ranked progression. There is also a social mismatch because older players often demand slower pacing and careful planning. Ranked environments favor rapid improvisation, not drawn-out deliberation. This pacing conflict leads to constant team disagreements. A cohesive playstyle becomes nearly impossible when generational expectations collide. Ranked gameplay cannot wait for players who need extra time to think. The fairest solution is to create age-friendly cues specifically designed for slower reflex ranges. These cues could reduce mechanical demands and emphasize strategic depth instead. Younger players would regain a balanced ranked environment free from reflex disparities. Older players would avoid constant frustration and enjoy competitive play at their own pace. Both groups would finally benefit from balanced competition. Retiring from Ranked does not mean giving up gaming entirely. Casual modes offer relaxed environments without the pressure of high-stakes rankings. Older gamers can still enjoy games without negatively impacting competitive integrity. They can also mentor new players in non-ranked settings where timing is less critical. This preserves community health while keeping Ranked purely merit-based. Ultimately, ranked queues are meant to showcase peak performance, not accommodate declining reflexes. Younger players deserve fair matches without involuntary handicaps. Older gamers must acknowledge their limitations for the sake of competitive balance. Stepping out of Ranked is not surrendering, but respecting the competitive ecosystem. If Ranked is to remain meaningful, older players should retire and let the next generation take the lead.